Yes, I did make or have someone make an overlay for me and Amin because it just makes sense, right? The Big and Little Show. For any of you guys who think it's weird, whatever, dude. I thought it was catchy. I passed it on to someone else. They thought it was catchy too. So this is our Friday show. From now on, it is the Big and Little Show on Friday. It is me, your host. Well, at least when we're on my channel, Aaron, 49ers First Takes, and my boy Amin the Dream. How you doing, Amin? You're muted, but there you go.
I'm doing good. I mean, I love the new overlay, Big and Little. Love it. Love the new name, and shout out to Jesse for making the overlay. But I mean, I'm
Thank you,
looking
Jesse
forward.
Naylor.
I'm looking forward to this. And obviously the Niners had a tough loss on Sunday, but Monday Night Football, another primetime game against our rivals, the Los Angeles Rams. So I'm looking forward to that game, and I'm looking forward to doing the show with you.
I'm looking forward to doing it too. And last Monday was pretty much as low as I think we have gone with Jimmy at quarterback and Kyle as coach. That was a game that the defense, just like the previous other games, kept us in it the whole time. And I'll be honest. I let myself get into the mindset that I thought, hey man, Jimmy looks pretty good in the last game. Maybe this is a different Jimmy. I let my mind go there. And unfortunately, a lot of us were wrong. A lot of us were thinking he was going to come out and kind of do the same thing he did the previous week against Seattle. But that didn't happen. He played probably as poorly as he could. I thought the coaching was subpar too, so it wasn't all Jimmy. I would say it's probably 80-20, 80 Jimmy, 20 Kyle. But, it's week 3. No, it's week 4. And it's the LA Rams. Monday Night Football. The Niners have a chance to get themselves back to 500. I think they'd be tied in the division. So the Niners are at a point right now where they still control their own destiny. I know that sounds really weird. We're only going into week 4, but it's crucial that they get this win and kind of get the momentum going in the right direction with a strong performance against a team that they do well with Kyle and Jimmy in the regular season. So let's see if we can continue. Offense can get back on track. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Sundays. Oh no, Aaron, I think you're frozen. At least on my screen. Okay, you're back. I don't know if it's my internet or if it's your internet, but
it's me every time I get on StreamYard. It doesn't like me.
Yeah, well, internet's so unreliable at times. Sometimes my internet also glitches on my stream. It was like internet. That's a topic for another day. But I mean, you kind of mentioned it against the Broncos. This offense struggled mightily. This defense played exceptionally well, and I said this back on Sunday night. When you hold the opposing offense to only 9 points, not even double-digit points, and you can't come out with the victory, that's straight up embarrassing. It's unacceptable. And this 49ers offense was just atrocious. Part of it is because of Kyle Shanahan and the play calls. And part of that is just Jimmy Garoppolo being Jimmy G. That safety was just, I don't understand. Like, he dropped back on 49er Minded, who you do NWO shows with. He posted a video of him doing hammer time. Like, that's how many steps
that was beautiful.
Jimmy Garoppolo took so many steps. I mean, that safety was stupid. And the funny thing about it was he threw a pick 6 on the same play, but luckily it was called a safety. Like, I'd rather him get that safety than him have a pick 6 on that play. But this offense really didn't have a great performance on Sunday night. And I said this also on Last Second Sports that day. When your defense plays so well and offensively you can't put up more than 11 points to win the game, embarrassing. And this Niners really has to figure things out quick if they want to be a successful team, because I'm not worried about this defense. Defense wins championships, and this defense has been playing really, really well. But offensively, you also got to put up points on the board. And if you can't do that, you can't even put up more than 9. That's not great. And it wasn't great on Sunday. And that's why we lost, because offensively, we struggled mightily.
Yeah, that was a game that I just want to kind of stricken from my memory, because that was probably some of the worst Niner ball since the Tom Sula, Chip Kelly era. I want to say what's up to the chat real quickly. We have Brian Culp in here. What's going on? Brian's over super supportive. Swan Song. I've been noticing him a lot more on Twitter lately, and we are of one mind. So I just want to say that again, Brian. Ryan from No Border Sports. What's going on, man? We have the man himself. Made the overlay for me. He's made my intro for me. He is probably one of the best people in the Niner community as far as like giving back to people. He has his own stuff that he does, but he's, like I said, he makes his time to come into other people's streams when he can, and he'll do things for people in the community. So if you guys ever make a channel and need an overlay or an intro, my man Jesse Naylor, Last Second Sports, is the guy. He's a really good person, and his channel, I think, just 7,000 subs. Probably growing, probably closer to 8 by the time we're talking. But yeah, he's the man, and I just want to say thank you to him real quickly. We got Maruna in here. He says that it was the worst. Oh, and the internet has dropped. What is going on, everybody? He'll be back shortly, hopefully. And he's back. Gotta love the internet. We have George Bailey in the house. Beto, Niner Sickness Podcast. Corey Davis.
What's up, Corey?
Corey's in everybody's stream. I just want to say thank you. It's been that we'll just say that the Niners, I hope they can't go lower than they were in that last game. People always say that's about as low as we can go. I don't know. Jimmy Garoppolo quarterback, there's always a chance you can go lower, but I'm looking forward to this game against the Rams. I feel like the Niners could get right against them, and if they can, they're right in the division. It's still early enough in the season, but if they drop a game to the Rams here, with the schedule that they have coming up, it could spell doom for this season very, very early on. But we'll see. Listen, you can take care of all the problems that you have right now if you just come out with a strong showing. So hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, this Rams game we'll obviously talk about a little bit later in the stream, but they kind of have to win this game. And obviously, I know it's a topic. I think it's one of the topics, but I don't know how you could get any lower offensively than what happened on Sunday night. Like, I don't know how you could get lower than that when you're, like I said, when your defense plays so great. And honestly, the 2 points came from Jimmy Garoppolo's safety. Otherwise, the Niners defense only held them to 9 points.
Yeah.
9 points defensively. Otherwise, if we're not counting the safety. So if you only hold it to 9 points, then you can't even put up 9 points, which is 3 field goals, 1 touchdown, and 1 field goal. Like, I don't know how you can get any lower than that.
Did you see the tweet from Eric Davis when he said if that was the Niners back in the day, he would have been fighting either with the coordinators or with other players, just that the defense did such an amazing job and the offense gave them nothing. I know that Tavarius Ward looked visibly upset after the game. I would be hot too, doing all your work. You know what I mean? Like, I see, I like that kind of stuff. I like that kind of creative tension on a football team because I think it could draw a team closer together. You don't want to disappoint the other side of the ball, so maybe you need to up your play. So I'm glad that kind of stuff exists. I hate when it's too happy and everybody gets along too well. I mean, they say winning is the ultimate deodorant. Well, the Niners need to keep winning because eventually the Niners are going to keep playing like that on defense, and the offense is not going to give them anything. And I mean, rifts do happen in teams, even teams with, a great front office and great players. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully the Niners just come out really strong and they take the stink of the last game out of our mouths, and then we won't think about it.
Yep. I mean, if you were the defense, I mean, obviously you're pissed. If I was Talano, who Fungus Ward and Charvarius Ward looked visibly unhappy after the game. His head was down. He didn't look like he was too happy. And obviously, if you're the defense, of course, you might not go talk to Shanahan or might go call out Jimmy Garoppolo, but obviously, they're pissed, even though they might not express that or show that in the locker room or with their teammates or to the offense. They're visibly unhappy, not necessarily visibly unhappy, but they're unhappy. like I played flag football for a couple of seasons, and obviously I know it's not the NFL, but when we would do good as a defense and offensively, our offense could have put up points, and we're doing really, really well, and the offense couldn't put up points, we would get frustrated. Or if we lost the game because the quarterback was struggling or whatever, we would be upset if we did really good on defense. So obviously, it's understandable for those guys on that defense to be upset. And like we know this already, but the defense did a hell of a job on Sunday. When
Yes,
you
it did.
only limit that Denver Broncos offense to 9 points, now I understand that Denver Broncos offense is still finding their rhythm. Russell Wilson still finding his rhythm with his receivers. The offense kind of doesn't look in sync. It kind of looks, that you could tell they're figuring things out, but still they did a phenomenal job. And the defense is the least of my concerns for the rest of the season because I'm not worried about that. And I think we've known it for the last couple of years also, but the defense has been a huge part of this team's success, right? Defensively, this defense is what really helps us. And even that Super Bowl run really was like the vocal point of this team's success, the defense
Yep.
in the run game. But it was mainly, if you're looking at a specific, offense or defense, it was mainly the defense. So defensively, I'm not worried about the defense, even though Aziz is out for a couple of weeks. But this defense is just so talented and has so much depth at the D line position, at linebackers, that I'm not worried about it. And Deshaun Gibson, even with
Yeah, he's
Jimmy
played
Ward
pretty
out,
well.
he's played pretty well. So I'm not even worried about him. Jimmy Ward, when he comes back, this defense is going to be even better than what it is. And Talanoa Hufanga has been a stud, and a lot of Niners fans has been acknowledging that. AWS also put out he's like the third ranked safety. AWS put that out, but this defense is not really a concern for a lot of Niners fans, including myself. It's mainly this offense, and what can this offense do, and how will this 49ers offense respond on Monday? That's going to be interesting to look out for. But this 49ers offense has to be better. Has to be better. It's just simple as that. They just have to be better if the 49ers want to win football games, because the defense obviously, and even in that game, right? I've seen the movie before. I've seen the same movie where defensively the Niners defense does so well, and I tweeted it out. I don't know if you saw the tweet. The Niners defense does so well. Offensively, we struggle. At the end of the game, the opposing offense has one good drive and they get a touchdown, and then we get the ball back and then we can't score. Jimmy throws an interception or we don't score, and we end up losing the game. Right? Even though their defense dominates the whole game. And I called my dad. He wasn't home, and I was like, and it was like 8 minutes left of the fourth quarter. I said, this is what's going to happen. The Niners defense is going to get tired. Russell Wilson is going to score a touchdown. Jimmy come out, and Jimmy Garoppolo's offense aren't going to be able to put up points. We lose the game.
That's exactly
And that's
what happened.
That's exactly what happened. And we've seen it so many times in the past, right? And it's either two ways this movie goes. There's either two parts. There's two ways the movie goes. One, where the defense plays great in both, and then Jimmy Garoppolo makes a bad mistake, and then he'll get the ball back with like 1 or 2 minutes left in the game, and Jimmy Garoppolo will have this spectacular touchdown drive, and you're like, Jimmy G, and Jimmy G will have like this Tom Brady style drive. And in other games, it's like what he did on Sunday night, where he makes a bad mistake. And that Debo pass, I think it was to Debo on that fourth quarter, that last pass that he threw, it was behind him. Debo was getting
he didn't
covered.
put it in it. He didn't do it. Hit that one. The I don't know if it was a slant or whatever it was, but the pass. If you put that pass in front of Debo, he makes the catch. Niners continue the drive.
Yep.
But that pass was behind him, as were most of the passes. I think the deep passes that he threw during the game, a lot of them looked underthrown, fluttery. I know he threw the one to. Oh, I'm thinking of the other game. Sorry, I was thinking of Brandon Ayuk. But yeah, he played as bad as I think we've seen him play since he's been the Niners quarterback. But listen, here's the thing: the Rams are in a really interesting place right now. They're not prime Rams yet. You know what I mean? They're not deep run at the end of the season Rams. This is a very gettable team at the time of the season right now, and the Niners have to make good on this time of the season right now. It's early. Like I said, the Rams are not playing the best ball yet. This is I think as gettable of a division as it's been in a long time, with Seattle and Arizona looking pretty bad. And it figures that the Niners come out and play the way that they did on offense on Sunday night, when I was just talking to somebody about how, man, this is really the time the Niners need to go get it, because this NFC West, this division looks gettable. You win your division, you're in the playoffs. That's all that matters. So, listen, we got a lot of season left. It's not over yet, but I think Sunday night is as much of a must-win game right now as we've had all year. But want to say real quickly hello to Mariah Faithfully. She's in the chat. Of course, David McNew, always active in the chat. Damian Lee, I see him from time to time. He's pretty active in the YouTube chat, at least on my channel. So I just want to say hello to all you guys. I wanted to hit on it quick. We kind of touched on it already. If you had to give like Kyle Shanahan any criticism for how he coached that game last Sunday, what would be your words for him? I think for me, it was a mix of Jimmy Garoppolo not executing and Kyle calling a lot of the right plays. But I also think Kyle, at least with this current season, I mean, the Niners look like a team that's been figured out, and I'm still waiting for Kyle to kind of adjust off of the adjustment, because I feel like he hasn't yet. I feel like teams have kind of zeroed in on what the 49ers want to do. And the Niners really haven't came off of that with anything spectacular to counter it. The Niners look pretty stale offensively. They're pretty much run the same 3 to 5 plays every game, with either Debo getting the ball in the backfield on a screen, or some kind of slant or dig pattern, or they run the ball. There's nothing right now that screams offensive genius. What do you think?
I mean, we've seen it before, right? Like at a certain point, teams figure out what the Niners do with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. We like to run the football, right? And either with Trey Lance or with Jimmy Garoppolo, we like to run the football. That's our primary. That's the one of the biggest things that makes this offense successful. But the thing with Jimmy Garoppolo is that we look at going back to that Rams game. The Rams stacked the box against the Niners, right?
Yep.
And some of it was Jimmy not executing, and Kyle was calling some good plays, and Jimmy was not executing. But at a certain point, defenses understand that what we have to do to beat the 49ers, especially with Jimmy G at quarterback, is stack the box, neutralize the run game as much as you can, try to shut down that run game, and have Jimmy Garoppolo throw the football. And that's what teams try to do that. And sometimes teams are more successful than others at doing that. But that's basically the blueprint of how to beat the 49ers with Jimmy G at quarterback. Stack the box, stop the Niners run game, and have Jimmy Garoppolo throw the football.
Yep.
And we saw that at the NFC Championship game, and the Rams won that game. Now, I agree with Damian Lee. Kyle Shanahan is conservative at times.
Super conservative
at times. And I remember at that Seattle game, I was like, it was a head-scratching play to me. It was a 4th and 8, and it was like 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes left to the second half, and Kyle Shanahan went for it. And it was like, I was like, great, Kyle, like you went for it. I'm actually happy that you went for it, because we want you to, like, sometimes go for the throat, but like you weren't really gonna do much on that 4th and 8 play. But when Niners fans want you to go for the throat, you be conservative. So I was like, when you don't really, like, when it didn't really matter, you aren't conservative. But when fans want you to be conservative, when fans want you to be aggressive, you're conservative. So on that play, I was like, Kyle, I'm happy you were aggressive, but when we need you to be more aggressive, or we would like you to be more aggressive, you're conservative, and you play it safe, and you be conservative. But going back to that game, like I agree with you. I think Kyle called some good plays. Jimmy wasn't able to execute. But that's the thing. This is going to happen this whole season, is that with Trey Lance, at least you had the upside, right?
Yep.
And you were expecting him maybe potentially to elevate this offense, right? With his big throw, taking the top off the defense, having the big arm, can extend plays. Excuse me for a second. My bad, Aaron.
That's all good.
But like that's what Trey Lance potentially could have brought to this offense. And with Jimmy Garoppolo, you don't really have that much upside with Jimmy Garoppolo, and you already
there is no upside with Jimmy Garoppolo. What you see is what you get.
Like, you know how to stop. You know the blueprint of how to stop this 49ers offense, and that's the thing. Like I want this offense to be better, and I think this offense can be better than what it was on Sunday night, but teams know how to beat the 49ers, and certain teams execute it better than others, but teams know how to stop the Niners. Garoppolo, especially at under center.
I am not liking how bad my stream is lagging tonight, so I just want to let you guys know that. I think these kind of go hand in hand, these two topics. The Niners defense playing really, really good. They were on the field a ton in the last game. But the thing that really gets to me is that the injuries are starting to pile up. The Niners defense really needs to step up against the Rams. But we're talking Azeez Al-Shaair missing up to about 2 months with an MCL sprain. I think it's him that has the MCL sprain. And now we have Eric Armstead dealing with plantar fasciitis, which is no joke because I've had it before. And now Javon Kinlaw was on the report with the knee injury. So it's like this is like a reoccurring theme with the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan that a lot of people, including Grant Cohn, have, made comments about like, say what you want about, Kyle and John and the way they built this roster, and they, can be commended for that. But every year it's the same deal. They're one of the most injured teams in the NFL. Now, I think one of the reasons this year that the defensive injuries are starting to pile up is the fact that they're on the field all the time. I feel like the more you expose the defense, the more tired guys get. The injuries always happen when guys are tired or guys are, fatigued. It happens constantly. And this past Sunday was no different. The Niners had none of those kind of real ball control drives where the defense gets a nice breather and they come in with their balls on fire and they go after the quarterback. I don't care how good your defense is. If they're on the field all the time and guys aren't getting any rest, guys are going to get hurt. And that's what my biggest fear is right now, is that the Niners defense has to come out every single week and play their best game just to give the Niners a chance until this offense, if it ever does wake up with Jimmy Garoppolo. Yes, the recipe for success with the 49ers is run the ball, play great defense, and eliminate mistakes on offense with the quarterback. Well, one part of that, and maybe even two parts, are doing their job. It's Jimmy that isn't doing his job. The run game has been pretty effective the first 3 weeks of the season, and the defense has been lights out. So, to me, the defense has to play well for the Niners to even have a shot. But in turn, the offense has to start getting more sustained drives, more ball control, and get this defense rested, because the more you play and the more guys are tired, the more injuries happen.
Yep. And the Niners have to kind of do what they did last year with Jimmy G, right? Control time of possession. Have long drives where you take up, like going back to last year in Jacksonville, like we ran the ball and we took up like the whole first quarter almost, right? So like, and we scored a touchdown, but like that's what this Niners team has to do: sustain long drives, control the football, have a efficient run game, and Jimmy Garoppolo just can't make mistakes, because Jimmy Garoppolo sometimes makes mistakes, and sometimes it's in the most crucial part of the game. You look at that Broncos game, that was a stupid mistake. You look at that Packers game last year, that was a stupid mistake where he like threw it backwards, and you're like, Jimmy, what was that? Like, so like Jimmy Garoppolo, all Jimmy Garoppolo really has to do, and I don't understand why it's so hard for him, but all Jimmy Garoppolo really has to do is play smart, conservative football. Don't make mistakes, make the right decisions, and play smart, complementary football. And Jimmy Garoppolo, for whatever reason, hasn't necessarily been able to do that. And Jimmy Garoppolo makes stupid mistakes. That safety was a stupid mistake. That, like I said, that Green Bay the Green Bay throwing it behind last year was stupid. Like Jimmy Garoppolo, we already know, like I said the whole stream, we know what the defense can do. We know what this run game can do. What it all really depends on is how well Jimmy Garoppolo does, and can Jimmy Garoppolo limit his mistakes. And if Jimmy Garoppolo can do that, this Niners team can be successful. But can Jimmy Garoppolo do that? And that's the biggest question mark. Can Jimmy Garoppolo play games without him making crucial mistakes in crucial parts of the game? And can he play smart, complementary football and just do what he's asked to? Be a game manager. And that's the thing. Can Jimmy Garoppolo do that? He has been able to do that in the past, even though he does make mistakes. But that's gonna be the question for this year also, is can he do that?
Real quickly, super chat, Jonathan Chavez. He said, first of all, thank you very much. I appreciate it. He says, love what the guy at 95.7 the game said. He coaches scared. He coaches not to lose instead of win, talking about Kyle. And I truly believe that. I think there's a ton of that with Kyle. Kyle's never trusted his quarterbacks. Now, I don't blame him when it comes to Jimmy Garoppolo, but even with Trey Lance in there and Trey Lance being a young quarterback, I don't think Kyle's ever had a quarterback that he truly trusts. So a lot of his play calling is focused around not exposing the weakness of this offense, which is the passer, and putting them in positions where they have to throw the football, exposing us to mistakes. And unfortunately, sometimes you need to throw the football in order to win the game. And the Niners are exposed in that area because that is their. I can't believe we're in 2022 and we're talking about how the forward passing game to the 49ers is like this novel concept coming from a franchise that had two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in their history. And we're in 2022 and we're talking about how we can't freaking even throw the football, effectively down the field. So thank you very much, Jonathan Chavez. I do agree that he coaches scared, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's never really trusted the quarterback that he's had behind center. Real quick, Scott Hill says, "What's up, fellas? Thank you for showing up into the stream." Tommy Huxley, I did notice that you were in here. Thank you very much for coming in. He says the Lambs are overrated. Yeah, I don't know if they're overrated. I think right now they are what they are. They are what their record is. They're not the Rams that we faced last year in the NFC Championship game. They're not as talented of a team. And I just think right now they're at a point in the season where they're as gettable as they're going to get. So the 49ers really have to jump on that. Yeah. I don't know if you noticed the news that happened today, but Bobby Turner is back as running backs coach for the San Francisco 49ers. The legend, Bobby Turner, he was with his daddy in Washington. Probably the best running back coach I have ever seen in my entire life, that I've known in my entire life. And it's great to have him back in the building. He had off-season surgery. I think he's 73 years old. And the fact that he still wants to do this, I mean, if I was that age, I'd be just, I'd be like Scrooge McDuck. I would have a big pile of money that I would swim in every day. I wouldn't be working. But this is what some of these guys, they live for football. That's their passion. That's their life. And he's going to be back with the 49ers as some sort of offensive assistant. I don't know exactly what he'll be helping with, but it's great to see Bobby Turner back in the building, because I think the Niners can only get better with him in the building. What was your take on seeing Bobby Turner back with the 49ers?
Man, I loved it. Bobby Turner, I mean, we already know, I think we had the best defensive line coach in the NFL.
Yes.
But when Bobby Turner, I think, is the best running backs coach in the NFL. And I mean, Bobby Turner, you look at with the Niners, they really haven't had like one superstar back, right? As other teams, they have like their Derrick Henrys or Jonathan Taylors or Nick Chubbs, and they have that one main guy. Where the Niners the last couple of seasons, it was kind of by committee, and if someone went down, Jeff Wilson would come in, or Matt Breida would come in, and this Niners offense could still run the football really, really well. So, I mean, Bobby Turner had a huge part to play in that, and I'm glad Bobby Turner's back. I was sad to see him go in the offseason, but I'm glad to see him back. I don't know exactly what role he'll have to play with this offense and what role he'll have in this offense and what he'll do, but I'm glad to have him back either way. And I'm really high on Bobby Turner as a running backs coach, but I'm just glad to have him back.
I wonder how much input, at least away from the team, because I would assume that he could have contacted them during the offseason, even though he was, laid up with the surgery. With a guy like Jordan Mason, another one of those, hidden gems, undrafted guys that somehow slipped through the cracks, so that, the Niners seem every year to have a guy that they find off the scrap heap that becomes an integral part. You have a 6th rounder in Elijah Mitchell. You had a guy like Matt Breida. You name it, the 49ers have found running backs in a lot of different areas. And then when they've gone and reached for running backs, so far, they haven't done very well. I mean, you just look at Trey Sermon. I mean, he's not even on the team anymore. And then TDP is hurt right now. So I wonder how much away from the team, he actually deals with the team and talking about the running back position, or was that more or less the ex? I'm thinking of the coach that we have now, the running backs coach that he gave,
Anthony Lynn.
Anthony Lynn. I wonder how much of his input they had this year, or if they had both. And I wonder how Anthony Lynn feels about him being back in the building, because he's kind of he is there replacing the guy who's now back at work. So I wonder how that must feel at the moment. But it's good to have him back. I'm very, very happy. I seem to have started a really weird thing in the comments. So this shows a lot of the age of the guys that are in here. So DuckTales was the show that I was referring to. It had Scrooge McDuck and his sons. And then, of course, we have Darkwing Duck and Tailspin. These are Howard the Duck. That was a really creepy movie. But it's just, you could tell by the stuff in this chat right now, I mean, how old everybody is, because I know Ryan's over 40. And I don't know how old Damian Lee is, but I would assume he's close to 40 or in his mid 30s. So you guys are aging yourself like horribly in the chats right now.
DuckTales. That's the old show, right? The old show with Donald Duck and
No, it wasn't Donald Duck. It was
like the Duck family, right?
It was Scrooge McDuck and I think his nephews, and he used to go dive in his money all the time. Teddy Ruxpin. I don't know if you had beautiful 36. You're as old as me. That means you're turning 40. You're already 43, homie. I turned 43 in December. I think. But I lost my train of thought. Ryan says, no, we need a thrower of the football and an offensive genius when referring to the quarterback and the coach. Yeah. Well, you definitely don't have the prior in that statement for sure. I don't know if Kyle's an offensive genius at this point. I'm to be honest with you. I think that title has been thrown around way too freely with a guy like Kyle Shanahan, and I don't think he's earned that with the 49ers, to be honest with you. So, but that's just me. And we have Mariah, old show with old Duck for men in the chat, old men in the chat. George Bailey says he's been 21 for over 20 years. Same with me. David McNew says he has 2 years on Aaron and Damian. Damn, you are old, dude. Yeah, we're old guys. We're all a bunch of old guys. But hey, those were the good old days back when cartoons were cool before they sucked. One thing I wanted to ask you, and that is, where's George Kittle been? Is George Kittle like on the downward side of his career? Are we looking at George Kittle no longer in his prime, or are the 49ers just not found a way to get him the ball? What's your take? Because I'm pretty highly critical of George Kittle. I wonder if he's as into it, or he can even play up to the level that he's played in the past.
I don't know. Like, I mean, George Kittle, I've already spoken about like how he's a talented player, huge part of this offense, but just can't stay on the field. But I don't really think Kyle Shanahan's really getting him involved as much as a passer. And in the passing game, you look at what the Niners do a lot of the times with Kittle is use him in the blocking and the run game, and how using him as an extra offensive lineman in a way. And that's what you see a lot from Kittle, right? And even though, like, a lot of fans, you hear it on Twitter all the time, like, you're paying George Kittle to be a sixth offensive lineman, but in a way, that's how Kyle Shanahan is using him right now. And in a lot of the plays that he's in, that's how Kyle Shanahan's using him. So I don't honestly know if George Kittle, you could say, is on his, downward spiral, or he's, not the same, but what I really feel is that Kyle Shanahan is not getting him involved as much as he once used to be in the passing game. And I mean, even if you look at the years where George Kittle was dominating and he was, having 200-yard games, the quarterbacks at those times were like Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard.
Yeah.
When you look at a lot of backup quarterbacks in the league, when they come in, their safety blanket a lot of the times is their tight end, right? So for the same thing for Nick Mullins or CJ Beathard, their safety blanket was George Kittle, right? So in a lot of those games, George Kittle was putting up a lot of, had over 100 yards, multiple receptions, because that was a guy that Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard felt like they could trust And even you could argue at that time, he was arguably the best weapon that the 49ers did have. Like, I remember the guys that we had back in Kyle Shanahan's first years, like Aldrick Robinson and Pierre Garçon. Like, you could argue that George Kittle was one of the best options. So, or one of the best targets for, Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard. So I feel like right now Kyle Shanahan isn't getting him involved as much in the passing game. But yeah, I mean, George Kittle, the years that he was dominating, I feel like a huge part of that is because backup quarterbacks safety blanket a lot of the time is the tight end. And George Kittle, arguably back in 2018 and 2017, or not 2017 but 2018 and 2020, was the best receiving option. So I don't know if he's necessarily on his downward spiral, but Kittle definitely. I'll say this: I don't think Kittle's lived up to the expectations, and I think
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
And I think part of that is because of the injuries, but I definitely will say George Kittle hasn't lived up to the expectations of Niners fans, or at least in my opinion.
Not that contract that he got. He
Not the
absolutely
contract he
hasn't.
got. I think he's a talented player.
Yes.
Right? But it's just, I don't know if he's lived up to that price tag necessarily. And part of that, and a huge part of that, is the injuries.
Yep.
But when he does play, right, like he'll have great games, right? There'll be games out of nowhere where you're like that game that he had last year in Seattle, where you're like, oh my God, Kittle got involved and he had like 100 yards. Yay, George Kittle. And then like the next week after, George Kittle won't be involved at all. And he'll have like 3 catches for like 30 something yards. And you barely saw George Kittle that whole game. So it's kind of inconsistent with George Kittle, but I could say confidently that George Kittle hasn't necessarily lived up to the price tag.
George Bailey says that Kittle's looking sloppy right now. He's probably not 100%. Yeah, he had the groin injury, so you wonder how much that affected his, just game shape wise. One thing I agree with Damian Lee, or actually I agree 100%. He says that Kittle must change his style to be productive. My issue with guys that play like Kittle and guys like Debo is they're super, super highly talented guys, right? But their window of how productive they're going to be in the league is a lot smaller because of the way that they play. They are the type of guys that instead of staying away from contact, they use their body as a battering ram. And I think somebody just brought up Tony Gonzalez and Shannon Sharp. Those are two guys who are in the league a long time. And I don't see that with Kittle because I think Kittle's play style is a play style that's not conducive to a long career. I don't know if Kyle or Trent. See, I'm getting everybody's name. I don't know if George Kittle has already peaked and that he's on the downward side of his career. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that was late into camp or because of it, or he was injured in camp and he couldn't do anything with the groin injury, or at the end of camp, excuse me. And how much of it is the offense using him as a blocker? There's a lot of variables. All I know is that for the amount of money that they're paying him, and then the other guys that they have around him in Ayuk and Debo, I just expected the Niners offense to be way more explosive with all those pass catchers, even for a guy who was as limited as Jimmy Garoppolo. That's the part to me that's super confusing. It's not like Kittle's by himself. He's got at least 2 other decent pass catchers in there. And hell, if we had Trey Lance in there right now, the Niners may have another pass catcher in Danny Gray who could stretch the field and open up the whole middle of the field for a guy like Kittle. So it's just weird to me that with all these guys around him, I don't see him peaking. I don't know, again, if it's him having to play offensive tackle or whatever, but where is George Kittle? So far this season, in the first 3 games, he's pretty much been missing in action. For this 49ers offense to be what they've been in the past, to at least be competitive and win games along with their great defense, Kittle has to be involved. This offense has had absolutely zero rhythm since they came back, since they started the season. And there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of variables. There's a lot of reasons, but the fact of the matter is now is the time to do it. I mean, they're going against a team that they've handily beaten in the past. and he is back with us, and hopefully that can happen. Are you having issues with your connection too?
Yep, it's not just you, Aaron. It's not just you.
Yeah, StreamYard doesn't like me for some reason. So a lot of people, I don't know if you guys joined my stream on Wednesday with Ted. I literally did my intro and then my laptop booted and so did my internet. So yeah, that was a great intro. I think I was going to have a decent amount of people watching too. And then they all disappeared and never came back. So I was like really depressed. I'm like, oh my God, because the numbers were popping on the screen. And I'm like, oh, sweet. Yeah. And then that was that. So Brian Colt made a good point. He says that 7, 18, and 19 Kittle was the best. Yeah, this sounds like so long ago. Yeah, he's definitely not been the same. I put this comment out there because I heard Grant talk about it. I know a lot of fans are going to be like, you're ridiculous, Aaron. You're just doing this for clicks. Are you at the point now with the Kittle that you would be against the Niners shopping him at some point to get something for him in return? Or do you think he still has football left to offer the 49ers?
See, like, it just depends. And I feel like it just depends on what the Niners were going to get back for Kittle. And I wouldn't be opposed to it. And obviously, losing Kittle would be a huge loss for this offense because he is basically our sixth offensive lineman. And he does have good games at times, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. Let's just say I wouldn't be opposed to it, but it honestly all depends on what the Niners are getting back in return for Kittle. Draft picks, I don't know about draft picks, only because I don't know if John Lynch can necessarily hit on those draft picks. So we could see Kittle being traded, and all of a sudden he stays healthy and he's a focal point of an offense and he's dominating. And then we draft a first rounder who can't stay on the field or who's injured or who's just not productive at all. And you're like, great, we traded George Kittle for basically nothing or a bust. So I don't know if necessarily about draft picks, but if it was like a straight up player swap and you got like a good player like a Jalen Waddle for a Kittle or whatever, I don't think that was ever going to happen because I think,
No.
But if you got like a good player in return for George Kittle or a couple of draft picks and a good solid player, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to it. But it honestly all depends on what the Niners were getting offered for George Kittle, hypothetically.
I want to switch sides of the ball. And I want to ask you, one, are you surprised that Diamador Lenore has taken over the slot corner position over Womack? And two, how damn deep is this secondary to think that we have a guy like Womack and a guy like hopefully Jason Verrett in the background, ready to come on in case of a situation where we need another corner. I think this is probably the deepest and best secondary the Niners have had in a long time. It just figures that we have this secondary and this defense in a year where offensively we haven't done anything yet. It just doesn't. It's never at the same time. It's like two things cannot occupy the same space at the same time. I do not understand it. Why this has to be this way. My nephew always brings up the point of like anytime the Niners have a year where they're really, really talented, so is everybody else. It's not like the Patriots from like, the early 2000s where it was like they won the division by like week 10. But that's a whole other topic. But what do you think about this secondary? I'm pleasantly surprised. I hope guys can stay healthy because I think Javarius Ward and Emmanuel Mosley mixed with Hufanga and hopefully Jimmy Ward coming back. This is probably the best secondary we've had in probably the last 20 some odd years.
This secondary is hands down the best secondary in the Shanahan and Lynch era. Hands down. Charvarius Ward, Emmanuel Mosley have been locked down this whole season so far. Both been playing really, really well. And I'm surprised. I didn't expect Diamador Lenore to take over the slot corner, especially because Samuel Womack had that great preseason, and you heard things in training camp, and then he had the two interceptions against the Packers, and you're like, he's gonna be the starting slot corner. And then seeing Diamador Lenore out there on Sunday, I was like, I didn't expect that. So I don't know if he's gonna be there for the rest of the season. I don't know if that was just like a one game thing or
like a matchup thing.
Yeah, maybe a matchup thing. I don't know what's gonna happen for the rest of the season at that slot corner position. But like even with the secondary and just the defense in general, this Niners defense has a lot of depth.
They do have
And
a
when
lot
you
of
look
depth.
at a certain other teams like the Rams, for example, who are playing on Monday night, their main guys are superstars,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't have a lot of depth, right? You don't have a guy like where with the Niners, this Niners team, they have some superstars, but they also have a lot of good darn depth. Where
Yep.
if you look at if Charvarius Ward goes down, if Jason Verrett can come back and he can come and play, or if on that defensive line, if Armstead can't go or Javon Kinlaw can't go, you have Kevin Givens, Hassan Ridgeway, Drake Jackson. I mean, this team has a lot of depth,
Yes,
and
we do.
and the thing is, obviously, it would be nice for the 49ers in free agency to go out and get your Tyrann Matthews and your OBJs and all the things like that. Like, I would love that. But the Niners don't do that. And the Niners really, they have their superstars they get, that they draft. But the way that the Niners build their team is actually smart for the 49ers, because when you're a team that deals with so many injuries, it's better to have depth and have
Yep.
more depth than to have, just a bunch of great starters and some okay undrafted backups or late round draft picks. So the way that the Niners built this football team, that's smart, because that's what the 49ers should be doing, because just the way that this Niners team has a bunch of injuries. But I mean, we've already talked about it. We've already praised this defense. I think this cornerback room in the secondary is the best in the Shanahan Lynch era. And man, this defense, it's really just it's just phenomenal. It's just has been lights out this whole season. And I want to give a shout out to Talanoa Hufanga. He's been balling out this
Hell
whole
yeah.
year, but that one play that he had where he came from the edge and he just tackled the running back right away in the backfield. That was Troy Polamalu stuff. That
Oh
wasn't,
yeah.
obviously Troy Polamalu did even crazier things by jumping over, when on the field goal kick and things like that. But Talanoa Hufanga has been a stud, has been a freaking stud for the 49ers defense. And I can't wait to see what Talanoa Hufanga does. The future is bright for him. I'm excited to see what's going to happen from the rest of the season. And obviously, we've talked about Trey Lance before. It sucks that he's injured, but we still at least have Talanoa Hufanga to look forward to, a young guy this whole season. And so far, he's been lights out. And this whole defense in general, the secondary, has been lights out. And hypothetically, if the Niners do make the playoffs, if they make the playoffs and this team can stay healthy and this defense can stay healthy, we know what the secondary can do. And then we might have Jason Verrett back by the playoffs.
Right.
But if the defensive line can just literally elevate a little bit more and get more sacks and can get more pressure on the quarterback, this defense is going to be even better than it already is. And this defense is already really darn good. The secondary's been playing lights out. This defensive line has been good. But if they can just elevate their game a little bit and play a little bit better, this defense can be even better and scarier in the playoffs.
Eric Armstead not being in that rotation last week definitely hurt the 49ers.
It definitely hurt the 49ers, but here's
and then Kinlaw now being actually dinged up too. I mean, and the Niners got to get some sort of set rotation as far as pass rush wise, because I mean, I was so thrilled and enamored to see Drake Jackson get his first NFL sack last week. That was beautiful.
That was nice. Yep.
I'm looking hopefully to see him become the 1-2 punch with him and Bosa, because Bosa shouldn't have to do it all. And I want to be able to see a guy that can start winning his one-on-ones when Bosa's getting, choke slammed and held, and people are putting him in MMA chokeholds on every play. I was surprised that the refs actually called that penalty in the beginning of last game. I was like, oh my God, Bosa actually got a call.
Bosa got one. Exactly.
He never gets calls.
Every play you see Bosa, Bosa's getting grabbed like this, or
Bosa doesn't whine. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He's not a crybaby. If Bosa cried a lot more, refs would pay attention. He just plays. His approach to the world and how cool and collected he is. I need a piece of that, because I'm not like that at all. But yeah, David McNew brought it up. He says Kinlaw being young and having knee conditions sucks. I hope he can have a long career, but those issues don't get better with age. No, they don't. I'll be honest with you, David. Since I put on weight in my 30s and now into my 40s, my knees are shot. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I was told by people that I need to start taking what's called fish oil, I guess, for your joints. The things that happen when you get old. But yeah, knee issues are something when you have them when you're young, you're screwed. Like my sister's had a bad knee. One of her knees has been bad for years, and she took a fall on it when she was a kid. And now in her adult years, she has a lot of problems with her knees. So, as an athlete, if you have knee issues, your career, the fact that he's got something going on with him again, you wonder if it's a different knee, if it's the same knee that we supposedly cleaned up and fixed everything with. Could it be some general soreness and they're just being super like protective and careful with them? Or is this something else to worry about? But like I said, great as this depth is on this 49ers defense, and you are right, we are deep. Eventually, when it gets tested, you start to thin out at certain positions, unfortunately. You're right. The Rams are the team that has top heavy talent, right? They have the top of their position group in certain positions. With then again, a guy like defensive tackle. His name is escaping me. Aaron Donald. And also Ramsey. I mean, those are two of the tops at their position. But you're right; they're very top heavy. It's just the Niners they've done a good job of building through the draft and making themselves a team that can sustain a couple injuries here and there along their defense. When it starts to get into safe like Fred Warner went down or Nick Bosa, then you were talking some serious issues. But so far the Niners are relatively healthy. Like I say, the offense could do them a huge favor by just, maintaining some drives and scoring some points and giving them a rest so they're not on the field all the time. The longer they're on the field, the longer they're playing, the more they're going to be exposed to injuries. Tommy Huxley says, I'm 45 and I run 5 days a week. Well, good for you. I don't know if I work outside on the pavement all day. So I don't know if I just, because I'm fat, and I'm 260 pounds, that maybe that's it. But hopefully, I mean, I'm 42, so it's okay. My knees are bothering me. This man's like not even 25 yet, and he's got like old man knees. So that is a concern. But we've pretty much nailed every topic that we've had to talk about. We're almost coming up on an hour. I guess the last thing that I'll ask you in the chat is predictions for the game. I'm going to go first. Of course, I'm going to pick the 49ers to win, but I think this game is going to be a lot higher scoring than we've seen so far this year. Cooper Kupp, we could hate the Rams all we want, guys, but the fact of it is Cooper Kupp he's the truth. He's good. I see the 49ers winning 37-30.
37. Wow.
The Niners are going to score a bunch of points. They're going to win 37-30.
That's bold, especially after what happened on Sunday. I respect that because I did not expect 37.
Well, they're going to have to. That's why I say in order for them to win, they're going to have to score a lot of points to keep up with the Rams. So I don't know if Kyle pulls something out of his hindquarters this game and has a bunch of new plays, but the only reason I'm going that high with the score is that's what they're going to need to do to beat the Rams. Brian Culp has 30-20. That's,
people aren't going to like me for this, but I don't think the Niners are gonna win on Monday, and
that's okay. You can be totally truthful here.
There's the thing. I think this Rams team. See, that's the thing. Like, I think this Rams team is gonna put up points offensively. This defense is definitely gonna, limit this Rams offense as much as they can. But still, this offense is a concern for me. I know.
It is.
I understand they do well against the Rams, and I understand, but can they do it again? Will that same formula of running the ball with Deebo Samuel work? Deebo Samuel almost got hurt last week, right? Can he stay healthy this whole entire game? He almost got hurt last week, and then Kyle Shanahan brought him out before the end of the half again and ran him again. So I don't know. Like, I think the Rams win it. I don't know how close it'll be. I'll go 24-17. I think it'll be a tight game, but I think the Rams win it. And it hurts and it sucks because I think this is a must-win game for the 49ers. This is a crucial part of the season. And I think the Niners have to win this game because this schedule isn't going to get any easier.
No.
Tampa Bay, Chiefs, Chargers.
Yeah.
And I went on Jackhammer's show last night, and I said it right, is that if we're playing the Chiefs or we're playing the Buccaneers or the Chargers, the defense can try to limit the opposing offense as much as they can, but you're not doing what you did in Denver against the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, you're not limiting the Kansas City
No,
Chiefs offense to
no,
only 9. That Kansas City Chiefs that
no.
the
Chiefs are
Chiefs,
going
the
to at least
Bugs,
score 24 or
yeah,
25 points
they're gonna put up 20-something points. They're gonna put up points on the Niners
on
defense.
an off day.
Yeah, they're gonna put up points on the Niners defense, right? And what it ultimately leads to is, can this 49ers offense put up enough points to go toe-to-toe with the opposing offense? And that's what it's going to come down to in these games. So if you can't beat the Rams, or you can't, it's like it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna be a tough season for the Niners team, because you have a lot of tough games. You got the divisional games, and it sucks because the Niners should be 3-0
Yep.
at this point. They really should be 3-0, but right now we're sitting at 1-2, and the season isn't getting any easier, and it's
Nope.
not going to get any easier. So where the Niners can get breaks and they can catch breaks, or they're favored in a game, the Niners really have to capitalize and win those matchups. Like the Rams game, I think it would be nice to win this one, but 2 games that the Niners have to win, which I think are must wins, are against the Falcons and the Panthers. Because if you don't win those games,
you ain't beating nobody.
if you don't win those games, please, you're not. It's going to be much harder to beat the Bucks or the Chiefs or the Chargers. So we'll see what happens at the this year. Obviously, we wish Trey Lance was there, but we'll see
Absolutely.
what happens. But this offense has to be better. We've talked about it pretty much the whole show, but this offense has to be better. And we're going to go up against tough teams. The defense is going to do the best that they can, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the offense. Because offensively, can you go toe-to-toe with the best teams, like the Chargers, like the Chiefs, like the Bucks? And let's just say it, right? There's been a question that's been asked when Trey Lance got hurt was, are the 49ers still Super Bowl contenders? If the offense is better, yes, I think they can be Super Bowl contenders. But if you go to the Super Bowl and you're playing a team like the Bills, or you're playing a team like the Chiefs, or you're playing a team like that, can you go toe-to-toe with that team?
That's the biggest. That's
the biggest question.
Yeah.
Because defensively, you're not limiting Josh Allen to like below 15 or below 10 points. That's really hard to do. It's not happening.
Look at the Dolphins in that game that they won. They still were outgained. They were out everything in that game. It just came down to turnovers.
That's the thing. If you go to the Super Bowl, hypothetically, if the Niners do make the Super Bowl, offensively, can they go toe-to-toe with the elite offenses in the league? And the AFC, we know, is stacked. The AFC is stacked. So can offensively, defense, they're going to try to do the best that they can, but they're not going to shut them down like they did on Sunday. So offensively, can you put up enough points to go toe-to-toe against the best offenses like the Bills or the Chargers or the Chiefs? If they do hypothetically make it, can they do that? And can they do that for the rest of the season? Right? Forget about even the Super Bowl. Can they do that the rest of the season against the elite offenses? And yes, interceptions do win games, and they obviously have an impact.
So do touchdowns on the offense.
But offensively, can you capitalize on good field position?
Right.
Can you capitalize on those interceptions? And in that Bears game, they didn't do that. In the Bears game, they had numerous drives where we had interceptions or we had stops, and then they started at the 40-yard line and couldn't put up points. You saw that last year in the NFC Championship game. Everybody talks about that Tart missed interception. Everybody talks about it. But there were also drives that the Niners were like at the 50, and then they still couldn't get field goals. They couldn't even put up points. Numerous times, at least more than 2 times. So, yes, defense, they are right when they say defense wins championships, but the offense has to also do their part in that team winning the championship. And the offense don't put up points. It don't matter how many times your defense makes a stop, because at the end of the day, your defense is going to make a mistake at one point or another. They are going to allow points, right? You can't expect the Niners defense to allow nothing the whole game. They are going to allow points in a lot of the games this year. But offensively, can the offense put up enough points? And that's a big key, and that's a big question mark, is can they go toe-to-toe with some of the best offenses? And can this offense be better than what it was on Sunday? I think it can be, but it's a question mark. It definitely is a question mark. Like I said, I'm not worried about this defense, but what about this offense?
Well, there you have it, folks. Sabine has no confidence in the 49ers. No, I'm just kidding. Tommy Huxley actually is on your side with this one. He says 14-10 Lambs. Never one to shy away from his opinion. I love Tommy Huxley, by the way, and he's really good at playing guitar.
Hell of a guitar player.
Yeah, go check that out. Brian Culp, he says we will win the next 3 in a row. Brian, see, this is like two sides of the same coin, which is awesome. George Bailey,
I hope so, Brian. I hope
Niners
so.
23, Rams 18. Tommy Huxley says the Chiefs defense isn't that good. I think he's referring to the Chiefs. You're funny. Of course, he says we got to pick off Stafford. That's crucial. Then we win. You're right, but we also got to score points. I don't know how to say your name, so I'm just going to go with what you said. You said to hit the like button. And yes, please, if you can, share, like, subscribe. It helps YouTube find us so that we could spread our lovely Big and Little show to all 49er fans across the YouTube video scope. So if you could do that, you guys would be that would be great. George Bailey says over under on takeaways 2. Yeah, if the Niners get 2 takeaways in this game, I think they win. I do. Like Amin says, you got to turn those turnovers into points. The reason like I said, guys, the reason I'm going with the Niners to wake up on offense in this game is it's sometimes with division games, you get like really wonky things that happen. And you could go into a game thinking you're going to get your tail smoked, and then you go out and you win really well, or win a game and you play really well, and then you come out the next game against a different team, and you're the same team you were the previous week. So we will see, guys. It's been fun, this hour show on a Friday. I'm glad that. For all of you who have clicked on this stream and are refining me again and refining me and Amin on a Friday, I appreciate it. Having a set schedule and kind of being back into this YouTube thing, it gives me motivation. It gives me something to look forward to. For someone who deals with anxiety, it's always tough when I first get on the streams, but as the stream goes and as we lather up and get warm and we start talking, I start to get more comfortable. So thanks for everybody who supports us. Be sure to go in the description and find Amin's channel, Amin the Dream. I think I have his Twitter in there as well. You could follow him on Twitter. Help him grow his channel as well, because that's, in the end, this is what we're all on YouTube to do. So appreciate everybody in the chat. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for everyone. Amin, thanks for coming on with me. And until next time, guys, we'll see you. Hopefully, when I see you on Monday with the NWO crew, we're talking 49 victory. I'm probably going to be on really late that night, so be ready for me to be on if you're an East Coaster till like 1 a.m. or something. So till next time on, everyone, stay safe, healthy, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. See ya.